Welcome to the Boardroom. We're covering succession. I'm JJ, the CPA. I'm here with my son, Cooper Jensen, which is quite an honor. Cooper has been in the business somewhat, probably since he was in his late teens. He's now in it full time, and we had a great tax season. But with that, I really kind of came to the decision as we were in the middle of it that it is time for succession. And so that's what we're going to be covering in our first few episodes of our podcast. And bear with us. This is episode one, and we're going to find our rhythm. And with that, Coop, we just finished up our first tax season, and we're just a couple of weeks past. And you've worked tax seasons before, but it was your first full time in the trenches, the grind. You were in early, staying late, 7 days a week. I tell you what, he always had a smile on his face, and you were loving it. But how did tax season go?
Tax season was good. Tax season was good. It was, I think, all of what I expected it to be and more. I don't think I realized, you hear about it. There's an aura of tax season. It's January 15th. Leave your CPAs alone, or we're not bringing on clients right now. And there's all this stress to it that always gets talked about. And I really got that real feel of it. I think right around March 12th was the first time I was like, okay, yeah, this is real. This is tax season. This is what gets talked about. But I loved every bit of it. And I think it was exactly what I wanted it to be in terms of the grind, the hustle of it. But then also now being 2 weeks out, we're enjoying the benefits of being in the, tax profession is now things are slower. Now we're getting to, call our clients again and, hey, how you doing? And we're excited and we're not calling with results and we're not, we need this right now. It's back to the relaxation and the finally feel like you can take a deep breath. So tax season was good overall. It was good.
Well, I thought you did a great job. I mean, truthfully and sincerely, I think when I've been doing tax seasons, that was my 31st tax season, and
which is crazy.
Your first full tax season. So 30 tax seasons before yours.
Yeah.
And most of the time during tax season, you were playing baseball all the way back to T-ball. And so you definitely got to see the other side. And I remember you even saying, Dad, I realized that, when we would go on spring break or you were coming to baseball games, like how much you really had to do to get ready to leave, but then what there is to get caught back up on.
Yeah.
And, with the thing with tax season, I think I had mentioned this to you that, there's a real high to it.
Oh, yeah.
In the sense that, boy, you call a client, they're picking up.
Yeah.
I mean, you send an invoice, they're paying.
Yeah.
Right. And if you need something, hopefully, and typically, they're bringing it to you. And one of the things I had told you that we're probably right at that point is there's a little bit of a, boom, you just ran out of ground and you've already surpassed the cliff. And now you look down and, we're kind of entering that stage where, clients will call you back in a week. There's not the pressure of it.
Yeah.
The money was coming in because it's our busiest time of the year. I think I've told you over time that really half the revenue for the year is really during the first 100 days of tax season.
Yeah.
But you went on a break, took a little vacation.
I did.
And so tell us that you left the day after April 15th. You left on CPA day, 16th.
My tax season probably wrapped up April 15th, right about 7 p.m. having to mail out an extension, but so not even 12 hours later, really. I was in the airport getting on a plane and I was out to Scottsdale, Arizona. So got to enjoy some time out there with my significant other and just pure relaxation and hanging out by the pool and getting some vitamin D. Because I'll tell you what, that's one thing I realized that your spring's turning and we're watching it all from inside. There's not a lot of time being spent outside. So it was just good to spend some time in the sun by the pool, not worrying about a thing. Didn't check email once, didn't call anybody back. It was just a complete getaway for sure.
Well, and most of our clients, they are respectful. Like they know, hey, you guys are taking some time, so there really isn't anybody trying to get a hold of us. But I had told you had already booked your vacation, and I said, here's what I've learned after 31 tax season is I don't leave the day
Yeah,
after.
I do, right.
I wait a few days and then I will actually go out of town, because then when everybody's like, "Oh, are you back in the office?" It's like, "No, I'm actually out of town."
Yeah.
But what did you say when I saw you when you got back?
No, I said I will never leave April 16th ever again. I won't do it again. Not that it was bad. The trip was fantastic, but just for whatever reason, it's just the stress of going to the airport, getting there on time. Did you get your, did you get in the right boarding group? Or did you make it on time to board? And then when you get out of town, you're in a new place. It's, figuring out where we're going to eat, getting an Uber here, doing this. What are we going to do tonight? Rather than when you're just at home, it's just kind of, same old, same old. I know where all these restaurants are.
Yeah.
My car's in the garage.
Right.
I can go do this if I want. I can sit on my own couch.
Right. Yeah.
So definitely learn, but that's part of first year. So
well, my wife and I, Amanda, of course, everybody probably knows, but we love Hochatown. It's in southeast Oklahoma, and people probably would say, "Well, what's there?" But it's beautiful landscape and wonderful hills, wooded, and a wonderful lake. So we went down there and checked in the cabin and never left. So one of the things that's unique is we have a heritage of the tax industry, the CPA profession. So my grandfather, his great grandfather, Omar Abbott Slater, CPA, got his license in the early 50s and was a sole practitioner really for his entire career. And I was lucky enough to be able to visit with him right after I finished my first day of my first accounting class down at Abilene Christian University. This is all the way back in 1990, before the turn of the century. And I learned so much from him, and I've enjoyed, though, now sharing that wisdom, as well as Omar's oldest son, Kit Slater, was a CPA out of Arizona, and I was able to also visit with him and get some mentorship. So it's been real special to be able to carry on that information and some of my own with you. But one of the things that we look at here is that we've got a real family tradition. And so it's an honor that you're a part of it and that you're loving it and you're enjoying it. So really, though, there's probably some that are like, who would want to do taxes, right? And I have an answer, but for you, in terms of the race of tax season, the complexity of it, and it's dealing with the IRS. But we talk about tax season, but kind of what do you like about tax and kind of what we're doing?
Yeah, you really get the full taste of being a true, I think, businessman and going into taxes, and you really get to be a huge part of your clients' lives as well. You kind of become their guy in their corner for them. They're in that boxing ring, and you're the coach that's putting that no press on their head after round one, quarter two, quarter three. And so I think that's really been my favorite part. Up to now, is bringing on this original client base and then growing that relationship with them. And it's great. Clients are calling you before they go buy a car, and clients are asking you if I should invest in this or invest in that, and if we're going this route, then how do we do that? And I think it's just cool to really be a part of their lives, but in the terms of we're helping them. Everything that we're doing is trying to save them money. That's our ultimate goal. So I think that's probably my favorite part of being in taxes. And then also too, like I mentioned earlier, it's just it's a real grind for about 4 months, but then afterwards it's like, oh, we can take a deep breath. And now we're taking meetings, and now we're in June, and we just got to see half of our clients,
and maybe got to play a little golf.
Yeah, exactly.
Between, right?
Exactly. So I think that's been my favorite part. And I think a couple, one of the things I noticed even this tax season was getting to call them with those good results for either their first time ever, or I'm speaking with a client, and he's like, I'm apologizing that we have his individual return done on like April 9th. And his response to me is, dude, I didn't hear from my prior CPA until September of last year.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just like, well, this is great. So, satisfying, to our clients. But it's also fun too. I think, we really locked in some of those relationships by giving them those good results. So it's nice to call your client with a good refund. Now, there is the flip side. Had to call a couple clients with not good results, nothing to do with our work, just,
Yeah.
how it really fell together. But so there's good and bad things about it, but it's really all been positive, and it's been a lot of fun getting to know these clients and helping with their businesses.
Yeah. Well, with us now growing the practice, so given that I've been practicing in this world for 31 years, getting ready to celebrate 27th anniversary of my CPA practice, and now we're morphing into Jensen and Jensen accounting practice. But with that, your great grandfather had told me a great way to build relationships with your client is to spend more time with them outside of tax season.
Yep.
And being proactive with them so that you have a relationship that they will call you.
Yep.
Before they buy a car.
Well, and that's
whatever the decision is they
and
want
that's
to make.
the first thing I think I noticed being in taxes and really speaking with clients was there's not many CPAs, EAs, tax pros that are that involved with their clients' lives. They send a mass email out on January 15th saying, hey, we need your tax documents, and that's it. And then once you send your tax documents to you, you get an email, here's your return, here's your results, I'll talk to you next January. And so I think too, and in these initial meetings, I present that it's almost selling our services a little bit. And clients are surprised that we want to talk to them in June. We want to talk to them in September. We want to sit back down again in December. And I think they really appreciate that. And that's from, the traditions that had been passed along to you that are not being passed along to me is, we're not just accountants, we're not just CPAs, we're not just EAs, we're also running a business here. We need to satisfy these clients. We need to make these clients happy. What keeps them coming back every year besides good results?
Right.
And it's that spending time with them outside of tax season. And then I think too that, we really took a big step in the technology this year, this tax season as well. And
thanks to you.
Yeah. And I think that that's also, something that these other CPA firms or EAs or, tax professionals might be a little behind on.
We were to you.
Yeah. And so I think that our clients appreciate that as well. Not sponsored, but Canopy has a great client portal specific for tax firms or CPA firms, you could say. And that was really huge. And I think so incorporating that technology is also going to make our jobs a little bit easier in terms of taking care of some of that, back office work that our clients don't usually get to see, but now it's, being done with technology and Canopy has just been fantastic. For us.
It really has.
Yeah. And I know that, all generations have liked it in terms of, clients that have been with you for 25 years and, young freelance photographer that I work with, and it's their first time ever filing, a real tax return. So from all age groups, all generations, everyone seems to be really liking that implementation of, a client portal.
Well, Omar, my grandfather, his great grandfather, when he talked about building that relationship, it is to prevent delivering bad results, because really bad results is just a surprise. I call clients and I'm like, all right, we did this, we did that, we met, this is what we last estimated, you're going to owe 58,000. They're like, sweet, that's way less than we were thinking, or, oh, that's right on par. So it's about the surprise. And one of the things that when I had grown my firm up to 13 people, and then I downsized it because I really wasn't enjoying that as much, I came up with a concept for those that were bringing in business, which is we want a client that's interested. And what keeps a client interested, that I've learned through you being now a part of the practice, is that technology. And we had learned of Canopy, and I asked you to kind of look into it, and you took it and ran with it, which I want to address in a second. But we were at a seminar that we were invited by ADP. Erica with ADP is kind of who we work with, and Haley, and up in Indiana, and they sent us up to a seminar that they were putting together, and Darren Root and his son Andy Root, who are with RightWorks, conducted that seminar, and we picked up a few things. That's where you learned about Canopy. But really what they were talking about is kind of what we're experiencing. So a little shout out to them and RightWorks because they gave us a point really in the right direction, so to speak.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I said to Darren, it was a seminar when there was a question era. I said, listen, I've been doing this 27 years. I stopped bringing on clients in 2018. There's only so many hours in the day, and I had downsized, so I had all that I wanted. And when Coop came on board, I said, listen, I don't really have a full-time job for you. If you want to make really money and provide for yourself and your family, got to bring in your own clients. So let's get rolling in that direction. But what I had said in that seminar is, but I don't, at 52 years old and doing this as long as I have, it's like, gosh, I don't want to learn another software, another program. And my clients don't care either. Like they were fine. So let me pass it over to you in a second. But here's what it was for all of the probably last 10 years. Because I'm from the era where we used to print everything and hand sign it, and we'd mail it, or the client would pick it up and they had to mail it to the IRS. So really for the last 10 plus years, we were sending the client a PDF. They had to print the e-file, sign, the page, sign it, scan it,
Yeah.
and send it back to us. And through Canopy, you revolutionized us. So talk about that a little bit, because I was like, oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah, so they have actually e-sign requests, and a lot of these different platforms have e-signatures, but the main thing that Canopy offers is that KBA. It's the knowledge base authentication. So when you send it to a client, it now asks them 3 questions about themselves that literally nobody would know. We even had some clients, they're like, how did you know this about us? We're like, we don't. IRS is generating this.
Yeah.
But that was a real, a big key into this tax season was, we're able to have these e-sign requests prepared and sent to the client, and they're back to us like that. And I think it really sped the process up. It helped that wheel turn in tax season a little bit quicker than it had in prior years, just, not having to wait so much. And we're able to send reminders that if they didn't sign that day, well, they got a reminder on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and until they sign. And I think that was huge, and I think that there's just a lot more to offer on that Canopy offers that I think we'll really be able to take advantage of. But that e-signature request was huge, and was really that first step in implementation of here's our client portal.
Yeah.
And it's actually now required by the IRS.
Right.
That we
That's really what
do
pushed it
not
too, yeah.
email tax returns or e-file forms or anything of the sort. It all needs to be sent through a
multi authentication
multi-factor, whatever.
Whatever that is. Yeah.
But a secure way to send tax returns other than emails. And so Canopy was also able to provide that service to us. And it's just been great. And I think the best thing is too, that it's all on our client's phone now. Obviously there's a 2-step, 2 different passwords that they are required to enter before they actually enter this. But I mean, they get a push notification on their phone, just like they would a Facebook or an Instagram notification, which I think clients really liked, because, really at this point, in terms of how long technology's been around, everybody's got an iPhone, everybody's got some kind of Android or smartphone that can download these kind of apps. And they appreciate that, because whether they like it or not, nowadays everything is on that phone. So it's nice to be able to offer that kind of modern
technology.
Yeah.
Really.
To our clients.
Well, you were talking about, the IRS in June of last year now requires anybody really in the tax business to follow WISP, which is a written informational security plan. And in that is this multi-factor authentication, which is they are verifying their identity. So with this knowledge-based authentication that we're able to use, that also allowed them to e-sign, because the IRS says, well, we're fine with it, quote unquote, being e-sign, which is something new that the IRS is allowing, but there has to be that KBA, the knowledge-based authentication. And so just to put it out there, I mean, basically what we would do in the past, we'd create the PDF, we'd have to put it in an email with the language, update the language, we'd email it to the client, tell them what pages to print. They do that, they'd sign them, they'd scan it, they send it back to us, then we had to rename it, we had to put it in there, and then we're tracking on, okay, who did we get it back? Where this,
Well, and how many times did we get one back? It was signed on the wrong line,
Right.
or they printed
Wrong
the wrong
page.
page, or
Yeah.
so now the whole process has started
Yeah.
over again.
yeah,
And that just really eliminated some of that, because I
Yeah.
mean, it was just as easy as opening it up and, oh, here's the first page, click, click, it was signed. Oh, here
Yeah.
comes the next page, click,
Yeah.
click, it was signed.
well,
It-
and probably in episode 2, I'd like to talk about something that you kind of blew my mind. I don't even want to bring what it is, because we're gonna now be requiring our clients to do something a little different that I've never done in 31 years. And I was like, hey, Coop, man, I need you to find a way to do this in about 4 seconds. You're like, oh, we can do it this way and this, and this, and it works in the portal. So let's keep that under our hat for episode 2.
Yeah.
The other is that you and I are, kind of because of that technology, being able to potentially increase our service to our clients
Yeah.
by providing information that's more timely or more directed.
Yeah.
So let's save that for episode 2.
Yeah.
I don't want to give away
No.
everything here in episode 1.
No.
But anyways, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that kind of just to minorly touch on what you said, but I think it's really going to allow us to grow as well, in terms of, this new season of bringing on clients. I think is going to be different than it ever has been, but I think different in a good way. And I think we're really going to be able to just implement a system that each of these new clients that we bring on is just going to go through the exact same onboarding system. And I think that it's really going to help us out, because the first thing I noticed, I brought on probably 50 or so clients from, call it May 15th to about December 15th of 2023. In the midst of that, I was not
You were
panicking
bringing
or-
them on in my old style.
Yes, and I was bringing them on that way,
Right,
and it was, did I have this piece of information? Do I have this piece of information? And when we got to tax season, not that we were ever missing information or we didn't have enough, but you then find out information when I'm calling them with their results. I'm calling them with the results, and I found out they had twins in this last year, and
Yeah.
it's like, well, how,
Could have told us.
or yeah, they have a rental property that we had no clue about. We send them a return. They're like, oh, well, I'm not seeing this rental. It's like, what? So not that it's ever, not that it's the client's fault, but with this new
It's
system,
not our fault.
no, it's not our fault. But now with this new system, though, all of this is just going to be known up front.
Yeah.
And like you said, we'll touch on that in episode 2. But I really think that we'll be able to, and you'll probably hear this term a lot throughout the podcast, but just like, I really want to incorporate just a wheel that just, picture an old wooden wheel, and it's got its each little, pegs that are sticking out. And so just adding to that wheel. And so that when we get to tax season, that wheel is just fully spinning and it just rolls right through tax season. And I think that there's real opportunity to, through this onboarding system and through how we can now reach our clients and the services that we can now provide them that maybe weren't, as in touch with the new technology prior. I think that it's really also going to help next tax season in terms of everything's just going to kind of follow suit, and that wheel is just going to continue rolling through tax season. And I think the goal, and you kind of have a separate video series about it, but it's just, how can we lose that weight, the weight of our firm? And this technology is going to help us lose some of that weight and make, our jobs a little bit easier and less stressful, especially when we get to the busiest season of the year, tax season.
Yeah, and better service and more complete, because I was up to several thousand tax returns and 13 staff, and where I'm at now, I have 45 client groups, and I meet with them 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times a year. So I know if they had twins, which would be grandparents at this time. And so what was really interesting is, because I haven't brought on a new client since 2018, but when I downsized again in 2021, I mean, literally every client I'm working with had been a client for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
And interacting with them over time, you don't need to have questionnaire and revisit and all this kind of stuff. And so really what I recognized in the beginning, as you were, is, okay, with the new technology, how do we then incorporate the systematic thoroughness? And
Well, and I think with, all the knowledge that you have, the 31 years of experience and the, 30 plus experience that was ahead of you as well, I'm able to base the, I guess the direction we're heading and how we're going to use this technology based off of services that were proven to work over, multiple generations. And that, I can come to you with a new idea and you might not be as in tune with the technology that we're bringing into it, but you can advise that we shouldn't do it that way, we should do it this way because you've dealt with it before. And so I think that's really where that, it's not like I'm just starting fresh. I really have you as a mentor to go through this. Even though I'm bringing new things to the table, you're still able to advise on how we could really maximize that technology.
Yeah. Well, I think in episode 2, so probably ready to wrap up, I also want to dive into even a little bit of mystery, and maybe you want to tune into episode 2 is, how did we get along during tax season? Did we butt any heads? And kind of to the succession side of it, I think that both of us maybe naturally, instinctually have found a good rhythm to some of this. And I think we visit about some of that here in episode 2. So with that, Coop, how are we going to end? Because anybody who's watched my other videos, which I'm hoping you being of the younger generation will bring new viewers, subscribers, which we'd love it if you'd subscribe to the YouTube channel. But if you watch my other videos, I say, hey, thanks for tuning in. I'd love it if you'd subscribe. And then don't you ever forget, don't end it. Don't end it. You've never met a CPA quite like me. But we're doing the boardroom covering succession. We didn't even talk about it. So how are we ending this? Do we know yet?
Yeah. Thanks for watching episode 1 of the Boardroom, where we speak here about succession on the family legacy of Jensen and Jensen.
Love it. Well done. All right. See you at episode 2.